election reforms do you see? And I know as a senator, this isn't necessarily something,
right.
So it's taken a little bit away from this, but
Right.
I know somebody listening in is going to want to know, what is your opinion on the current election process, whether it's national or whether it's state or whether it's local? Maybe where do you see things maybe need to change, or should they stay the same? Like, what's your feeling on that?
So I'll tell you, the big thing that I was focused on over this past year, up until the time that I left, and I've still been a bit focused on it just at a personal level, even after I did leave Freedom Front as the director, is the issue of, again, going back to data. How are we cleaning our voter rolls, right? Because there's an entity that is responsible for giving us information. We send them all of our data, including the DLD data. We send all of this to them, and they have a two-pronged mission. They recently, as I started digging around, got us opted out of the voter registration piece, which they've never allowed, to my knowledge, another state to do. But I think it was illegal for us to be engaged on that. I found a law and started asking questions. And so they opted us out in December of that piece. Or they got permission from the organization to opt out of that, which, like I said, they don't usually grant. That was their number one mission as an organization. So the second is cleaning voter rolls. But here's what they do. And this is less than 1% of the problem that we have with voter rolls. So, or let's say this. Less than 1%, when fraud is uncovered, less than 1% of it is this piece, okay? The organization is ERIC, E-R-I-C. And what it does, so we send them all of this data, voter registration, DLD, other states do the same. Only about 25 other states are ERIC members, and about 10 other states have withdrawn their membership
just
in the past two years.
Just recently, right?
Yeah. So all they do is take our lists and run them against lists in other states. The largest states in the nation are not ERIC members. So Texas withdrew, Florida withdrew, California has never been a member, New York has never been a member. Those are the most populous states that we have, and they are not ERIC members. So we have, I think it's somewhere between 22 and 25 states currently who are ERIC members. So our data is being run against those. And if there are people who have either applied for a driver's license in another state or registered to vote in another state, that will be flagged. That is all ERIC does.
Okay.
That is almost nothing. When you look at what the potential for a lot of it isn't even fraudulent. It doesn't start as fraudulent activity necessarily, but some of it does. It's incorrect information in our voter data rolls. And I'll give you examples. So there is somebody who has done an analysis in some states, Jay Valentine. We brought Jay Valentine. I'm a member, I'm on the board of Utah Citizens for the Constitution. That organization brought Jay Valentine here a couple months ago. And one of the things that he does, and this is just a piece of what he does, he works with large organizations to find anomalies in data, okay, through a system, mostly large power companies to monitor grids. But he's also helped states with his same process that he does to monitor electrical grids. He has also applied that data analysis. You know, they run stuff through supercomputers or whatever. I'm so not techie. And they're able to find anomalies on like Medicaid and Medicare rolls and all kinds of other government services, right? But it's a matter of how much data you have in. Well, the ERIC system, first of all, we give away all our data. People don't know that. And I should have an opt-in, opt-out, I think. But even bigger than that, so we give it away and they send us back a list. How do we know that that list is accurate? I've asked that question and I don't have answers. Well, people told me so. That's not good enough for me. I want to know what they are doing with that data. And we don't have real assurances. I have really asked a lot of questions on that over the past year as I've met with government officials on that, and I can't get solid answers. So
before we go, because this makes a whole lot of sense, but why can't we just show up in person and do it on a single day? Why do we think that the technology is actually making this easier? Because it sounds like to me, we made this way more complicated than we did for 150 years. it seems like we could do this way simpler, and the technology is not making it simpler.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
That is very fair to say. That is very fair.
So why do we keep going? Why is it a we can't admit that we made a mistake? Is that the problem? Or it's like we've gone too far. We can't turn back now, right? Like I don't know why there's so much difficulty being like, yeah. Truthfully, like when I hear people ask people, especially candidates running about the election system, you've been the first one that ever has given me any like real answer to it, or I've heard them. They shut it down. They stonewall it. They basically say, I don't think there's a problem.
I know.
And I'm like, what do you mean you don't think there's a problem? How could you not think that there's a problem? Like it seems so obvious.
Right. Well, here's the bigger problem to me, that somebody who says, I don't think there's a problem because our overlords told us there wasn't, is literally not the kind of person who should be anywhere near the levers of power in Washington when we are heading off a cliff.
Yeah.
Can I just say,
agree. Yeah, fair enough.
If you are not a question asker, if you are not somebody, and I'm sorry, but I say all the time, like I grew up a Mormon in New York.
You do say that all the time.
I do say that all the time because that tells you so much about who I am.
Yeah, it does.
Right?
It does.
And I don't care like what your religious beliefs or background are. This is mine. And those experiences have made me who I am. Right? And that is, I don't care where the crowd's going. I have a whole bunch of questions and some red flags going off.
Yeah.
I need these questions answered. I have never been a person who you can come to me and say, hey, this is what like the government is saying, or this is what our teachers are saying. I mean, I was a rebellious teenager, but and maybe this is a part of what has made me who I am.
Yeah.
I am somebody who questions everything, and I need my questions answered because they're not stupid questions.
Right.
And anybody who resists answering smart questions is somebody I don't trust. Yeah. So all I can say is, I don't know, but why are we not answering legitimate questions? And I believe some people aren't asking legitimate questions. I think we do. You know, I use the term hardcore conservative. I am a hardcore conservative, but I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes we as hardcore conservatives get so caught up in being right that we forget a few things. We still have to work with people. We have to know how to talk to people in a way that shows respect for what, you know, they may not view things the way that we do, but we need to listen to why they don't. And then we need to explain to them why we believe our position is correct, right? And so we have to be able to do that. But we also, a lot of times, many in my own camp make this mistake. And that is, we have evidence of A, B, and C. And that's clear. It's data driven. I hate using that term, but it's fact based. And so we think
it's measurable, right? Like we can measure it.
Yes. And we think that X is happening. And maybe that's too extreme. I said A, B, and C, F. We think that F is happening. So instead of continuing to gather data and ask questions, A, B, and C have been laid out for us. We jump straight to F.
Yeah, I see that a lot.
A lot.
And sometimes because you believe in F, you use A, B, and C it's a logical fallacy, right? You use A, B, and C to justify that F must also be true.
Yes.
When it might be correlated, but it's not causal. There might be some kind of connection. But I see this on the conservative side. It's on both sides. It's on the left and the right. But I see it maybe because I listen to the conservative side probably more so than I do the left and liberal side. I see that happen so often where I'm like, the logical jump that you just made from here to here, I know you might want this to be true. And it could
be true.
It could be true, but it doesn't mean it's a fact. You can't just keep running that direction, because then now we've spun up this belief. And because maybe people believe you and you've made that assumption, now you have a whole bunch of people now that believe that, right? Which whether it's Tucker Carlson or Glenn Greenwald over here, or, the political commentary, left or right, these guys make these, oftentimes will make these statements of belief of fact when that's not necessarily the case, but they just convinced all these people that they're like, well, they're smart, so they must be right. And there's a huge gap in the middle here.
Yeah, we can't have that. It discredits us. It discredits our case.
It does.
Right?
It really does.
And I think I can't trust people who make those jumps consistently, and I see it way more than I would like to see it.
Yeah, me too.